After 20 years, my biological parents came back asking for money to support the sister they kept. They abandoned me once, and now they expected me to save them. I wasn't their son, and I owed them nothing. I'm 25, male, and I haven't spent much of my life thinking about the people who gave me up. My adoptive parents? They've always been there for me, and I've always been grateful for them. They did everything they could to give me a good life. But my biological parents? That chapter was closed long ago, or so I thought. 2 weeks ago, they came back into my life out of nowhere. And it wasn't some heartwarming reunion like in those movies where lost family members reconnect and everything's suddenly fine. It started on a lazy Saturday morning. I was making coffee, scrolling through my phone when a message popped up. It was from a profile with no picture, no bio, just the name M. The message read, "Hey, it's your father. We need to talk. It's important." I froze. 20 years, not a word. Not a single sign they even remembered I existed. And suddenly, now they want to talk? I clicked on the profile, dug around in the tagged photos, and sure enough, it was them. M and P, my biological parents. The people who gave me up when I was 4 years old because I wasn't the daughter they wanted. They tried again, and eventually they got their perfect little girl. Now, after all these years, they wanted to talk. I was already pissed, but I wasn't going to leave it hanging. I shot back, "What do you want?" The reply came almost immediately. "We need your help. Your sister's starting college, and we're in some financial trouble. It's been a rough year. We could really use your support. Your sister. The one they kept. The one they wanted. And now they were asking me, the kid they tossed aside for money?" I could barely believe what I was reading. I needed more answers, needed to know what kind of people they thought they were. I sent back, "You gave me up. Why should I help you now?" I thought maybe they'd back off, apologize, maybe explain things. Instead, they doubled down. "It wasn't like that," M wrote. "We didn't want to give you up, but we had no choice. We were struggling, young, broke, scared. But now you're part of this family, and family helps each other out." Family. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. Family. They were trying to play the family card after 20 years of silence? I was shaking with anger as I typed back. "You kept her. You wanted her. You didn't want me. And now you expect me to help pay for her education? After all these years?" P responded this time. "We didn't have a choice," she said. "We could barely make ends meet. We couldn't handle 2 kids, and we thought adoption would give you a better life. You've done well. You've got a good job. A good life. We wouldn't ask if we didn't have to. Your sister's future is at stake." I had to put my phone down for a minute. It was like they were talking in circles, twisting everything to make themselves look like victims. They acted like their decision to dump me was a sacrifice for my benefit. Like I should be grateful for how things turned out. I took a deep breath and typed. "You made your choice. You chose her. You never checked in on me. Never cared. And now you think I owe you something? Why should I care about your situation?" I hit send and waited, hoping they'd finally get the message. But of course they didn't. M came back with a response that just set me off even more. "We're not asking for much. Just a little help. We gave you a better life by giving you up. You didn't grow up in the mess we were in. You should be grateful for that. Your sister's worked hard, and she deserves this. We're her parents, but you're her brother. And family helps family. Family. That damn word again. Like we were just one big, happy family and I was being selfish for not stepping in. I couldn't take it anymore. I called them. I needed to hear their voices, needed to confront them directly. The phone rang twice before M picked up. "Hello?" he said, calm as ever, like he wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. "How dare you?" I could barely control my voice. "You gave me up because you didn't want me. You kept her. And now you expect me to fix your problems? Are you out of your fucking mind?" There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then M sighed as if he was the one who was frustrated. "You're blowing this out of proportion. We didn't want to give you up. It was a hard decision. But we're reaching out now. We're trying to make things right." "Make things right?" I shot back. "By asking me for money? You haven't been in my life for 20 years. And now, all of a sudden, you think I owe you something because you're struggling? Where the hell were you when I needed help, when I needed parents?" P's voice cut in, soft and pleading. "We thought you had a good life. We didn't want to interfere. But things are different now. We're in a tough spot and we need you. You thought I was happy?" I said, disbelief dripping from every word. "You didn't care enough to find out. You didn't even try." "We didn't want to disrupt your life," he said quietly. "We made a mistake, but your sister—" "I don't give a shit about her," I interrupted, my voice cold. "You chose her. You kept her. You didn't want me. And now you expect me to take care of her? That's not my responsibility." M's tone changed. He wasn't calm anymore. "She's your sister. You don't just turn your back on family," I laughed bitterly. "You turned your back on me? You don't get to pull the family card now." Silence again. I thought maybe, finally, they'd get it, but of course, they didn't. "We know this is a lot to ask," P said after a long pause. "But think about it. You've done well for yourself. You can afford to help. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking you to be part of this family again." I couldn't believe the nerve. "You didn't give a damn about me for 20 years, I said, my voice low and deadly. "You're not my family. You made that clear when you gave me up. I don't owe you anything." M tried to speak, but I hung up. I was done, or so I thought. A few days later, they started messaging me again. First, they were polite, asking me to reconsider. Then the tone changed. "You're selfish. Your sister would never treat family like this. You've got the money. It wouldn't even hurt you to help. Think about what we sacrificed for you. You had a good life. Don't pretend like you had it rough. You're living well, so maybe it's time you give back." Give back? The audacity was unreal. They hadn't sacrificed a damn thing for me. They tossed me aside, and now they were acting like I owed them for a life I built on my own, without them. The messages kept coming, nastier with each one. M even left me a voicemail, starting off calm and reasonable, before devolving into a rant about how I was selfish, how I was holding a grudge for something that happened a long time ago, and how they were just trying to reconnect. That was the thing that pissed me off the most. They kept framing this as some kind of family reunion. They were acting like I was the one in the wrong for not jumping in to save them. I blocked them. Blocked their numbers, blocked them on social media, even blocked their emails. I wasn't going to let them weasel their way back into my life, guilt-tripping and manipulating me into paying for the daughter they chose to keep. But it didn't stop there. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address, but I knew who it was from the second I saw it. I almost threw it away without opening it. I should have. But part of me needed to know what they'd say. I opened it and read every word of their desperation, their self-pity, their guilt-tripping. It started just like the messages had. Dear me, we're sorry it's come to this. We didn't want to hurt you or make you feel like we abandoned you. We were young and scared, and we thought we were doing what was best. We see now that it caused you pain, but we really need your help. Your sister's future is in your hands. They went on to list all the reasons why their situation was so dire. How P had lost her job, how M's health wasn't great, how they were falling behind on bills. It was all about them, their struggles, their problems. They didn't even mention what I'd gone through, what it was like growing up as the kid who wasn't wanted. And then, at the end of the letter, they pulled the final guilt trip. We've always thought about you. We've watched from afar, and we're proud of the man you've become. You're strong, independent, successful, everything we could have hoped for. But now it's time for you to help your family. Your sister deserves the same opportunities you had. Please, don't turn your back on us. Don't turn your back on us. I couldn't help but laugh when I read that part. The irony was so thick, it felt like a slap to the face. After 20 years of acting like I didn't exist, they had the gall to say I was the one turning my back on them? I crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash without hesitation. That was it. That was the final nail in the coffin. I didn't care how desperate they were, didn't care what kind of mess they'd made of their lives. I wasn't their safety net. I wasn't some backup plan they could fall back on when things went wrong. They made their choice all those years ago, and now they had to live with it. I tried to push it all out of my mind after that. Blocked them from every part of my life and focused on the people who actually mattered. My friends, my adoptive parents, the people who chose to love me and take care of me when it mattered most. My real family. But the whole thing stuck with me for days, a nagging thought I couldn't shake. It wasn't just the audacity of their request, it was the way they had twisted everything like they were the victims. They acted like giving me up had been a gift, like I should feel grateful because I had a better life. The truth was, it wasn't easy being the kid who got left behind. Sure, I had good parents who loved me, but there was always this lingering question, this hole inside me that couldn't be filled. Why wasn't I enough? Why was I the one they gave up while they kept her? Wasn't I good enough, or were they just too selfish to make it work? They never bothered to answer those questions, not in the messages, not in the phone call, and certainly not in that letter. It was all about them, their struggle, their desperation, their family. And how I was supposed to just fall in line and help. They never even thought to ask about me, about how I turned out, how I felt about any of it. It was like they assumed that because I had a decent job and wasn't a complete disaster, I owed them something. They never asked about the times I felt lost or the nights I spent wondering why they didn't want me. They didn't ask about the struggles I went through, trying to make sense of being rejected by the very people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. That's the part that hurt the most. They didn't see me as a person. They saw me as an opportunity, a potential solution to their financial mess. I wasn't their son. I was just a name on a piece of paper, someone they could guilt trip into helping them because they were in over their heads. That realization solidified everything for me. I wasn't their child, and they weren't my parents. They hadn't earned that right. They had their chance to be part of my life, and they threw it away. So now I was done. I reached out to my adoptive mom later that night. We didn't talk about anything heavy. She didn't know about the messages or the letter. They didn't deserve to be mentioned. I just wanted to hear her voice, to remind myself of what real family sounded like. As we talked about everything and nothing, I felt this weight lift off my shoulders. I didn't owe a man anything. My loyalty, my love, my respect, that was reserved for the people who actually stood by me. The people who chose to be there when things were tough, who didn't walk away because life got hard. That's what family is. Not blood, not biology, but choice. I ended the call feeling lighter than I had in weeks. They were out of my life for good, and I was finally at peace with that. The next day, as I tossed their crumpled letter into the trash for good, I smiled. Not because I had won some argument or proven a point, but because I had finally closed the door on that part of my life. They had their family, and I had mine. And I wasn't looking back.